So just real quick, I want to show a technique that I use if you get stuck and you want to move something in the tree here, change the chronological order of the building of the features. There might have been a delay to go live. So it's a quick SolidWorks tutorial of this advanced technique that I use. I'm sure other people use it. I've never seen anybody talk about it though. If I want to move, what was I trying to move? Something upstream. Let me go back down to here, see where I was. Oh, I'm in a sketch. That's why I didn't like that. So I inadvertently put this extrude thin through a mirrored part, and so what I wanted to put it through is the original. Instead, I forgot to roll back. Now, if I try to drag this up, it doesn't let me because of this. And if I just delete this, then it's going to delete my feature, which I also don't want. Did it actually delete the sketch as well? It did. It deleted the sketch as well, because I guess that was dependent. So I'm just going to undo past that. Hopefully the undo works. I was banking on that when I did it. It's not happy. It's thinking very hard. That's fine. Less than ideal for live, for broadcasting. But anyway, okay, so I got that back. So here's my extrude thin, and you can see it's dependent here, and I can't really make it not dependent there. So like so the sketch is dependent and the feature is dependent. So I can change the reason the sketch is dependent. I just happen to know that I selected the face of that feature as my sketch plane, and so I will just go in here and select the XY sketch plane. I'm sorry, the XY plane, or front plane, or top plane, whatever they call it by default. I always change it to XY, XZ, and YZ because it makes more sense to me. And so it'll still be, so now the sketch won't be dependent. Now I could have had sketch relations too, but I believe I don't. Oh, evidently I do. Let's get rid of these sketch relations also, but this still won't be enough to get that passed, and so that still will not be the technique. But I'm going to show, let's see, defined in context. No, external, wouldn't be external. It wouldn't seem like it'd be external, but it is. External to the sketch, not external to the file. When I think external references back in the AutoCAD days, which means another file. But this external just means external to this from the sketch. And so I'm going to delete all of these. And so now I rebuild something that didn't like that for some reason. Don't care. So now the sketch should no longer have reference to that mirror feature, but the feature still will. The cut feature still will. So now, yeah, so you can see the parent. Oh, the parent. If I forgot, the parent arrows do not show up in OBS, and so I can see that this has a dependency on this, and you can't. I'm sorry. That this has a dependency on this. And this used to have a dependency on this, but I just eliminated it, and I can see it visually. You can't take my word for it. But so I still can't roll this past here because it still has a dependency there. And if I, like I say, if I delete that, it deletes this. And so then what's a guy to do? So I'm going to roll back to before this. I'm not sure what those delete body features are. I don't recall what I made those for. But anyway, I'm going to roll back to before the mirror. Basically, I'm going to make I don't know, proxy, substitute part, a sacrificial body to move the feature to. So I'm going to make a sketch. Doesn't even really matter what I do with it, as long as the feature will intersect it. Let's do something like this, and don't merge it. And so, like I say, this is a sacrificial, SAC. I don't know. I've never put SAC, but I do like to label things. Sometimes I don't do it as much as I wish I did, but everything, it's all balanced. It takes time to label stuff. So then I go back to my cut feature here, and I'm going to change it to, instead of cutting what it was cutting, to cutting the sacrificial body, then that will allow me, so instead of cutting the mirror feature, so this allows me to preserve this feature that I want to preserve while putting it before the feature I want it before that it's previously dependent on. And so I'm going to edit this, and I'm going to change the body that it cuts to this body temporarily, so the sacrificial body, because I want to revert back to, so now I don't have that relationship. So now I can drag this to before the mirror and then roll back to before the mirror. And then edit and delete that and select that. So that is now, is that actually what I wanted to, I'm not entirely sure that's what I wanted to do, but I did it. Circular pattern, why is that a circular pattern? That's what confuses me slightly. What was the circular pattern? I don't know, but at least I'm before that, and then I can get rid of this sacrificial guy, and I can get rid of his sketch. Did I just? Because I believe I get rid of all dependencies to that sacrificial body, and it worked. So now these cuts are in this. And you may be saying, just a little bonus, you may be saying, well, what are those stupid cuts for anyway? So in 3D printing, without these cuts, this would be mostly hollow with a little bit of infill and very thin walls and not very robust. And I had one shear down here somewhere. And so this is a technique that I use where I cut through basically a 1/1000th of an inch thick, thin cut. And what that does is it causes the slicer to do laps around all these cuts, and it results in sort of my own defined infill. Little technique I developed some years ago. Very useful. It's also useful for if you're going to thread screws into plastic to beef up the walls where the screw thread is going to go, which is actually where where I initially thought of it. No, I think I initially thought of that. Just trying to stiffen a larger panel. So that was the technique, was the little bit of time traveling there. What this is a clock spring experiment, and I've done a couple other potential videos, and but they just get so lengthy, and I never get around to editing them, and so that's why I just did this as a live stream. And so maybe people will find it, and that would be cool. And maybe they won't, whatever. If you found it and you liked it, like, subscribe, share with your friends, comment, ridicule.